30 million crows fly around this country, but among all creatures, these birds may be among the least understood.
Have you ever wondered what that crow outside your window is saying about you? For years, we assumed crow sounds were just noise. But the moment researchers fed thousands of recordings into an AI model,
and these colorful dots are the vocalizations. If two of those circles are the same colors, that means the vocalizations are really similar.
a hidden pattern appeared, almost like a language. Crows have always been known for their intelligence. But new AI-driven research is taking things even further. By analyzing thousands of crow calls, scientists are starting to recognize patterns, structures, and signals that look surprisingly similar to elements of human language. They're uncovering things we've never been able to hear on our own, and the discoveries could change how we understand animal communication forever. Stay with me, because what these AI models reveal next is genuinely surprising, and it might completely change the way you look at the birds outside your window. The crow that never forgets your face. Picture this. You're walking across your college campus, minding your own business, when suddenly a mob of angry crows dive bombs you from above. They're screeching, swooping dangerously close to your head, and following you relentlessly. The weird part? You've never done anything to these birds, at least not that you remember. This exact scenario happened to researchers at the University of Washington, and it sparked one of the most fascinating discoveries about crow intelligence ever made. Professor John Marsloff and his team conducted an experiment back in 2006 that would change everything we thought we knew about these mysterious black birds.
About crows, for the most part, and how they use their amazing brains to solve problems in the world.
The researchers wore caveman masks while they captured and tagged 7 crows on campus. Nothing cruel, just standard scientific banding for research purposes. Then they released the birds and went about their day. But here's where things got really interesting. When the researchers walked around campus weeks later wearing those same caveman masks, the crows remembered them. Every single time. But wait, it gets even more shocking. It wasn't just the 7 crows they had captured. Dozens of other crows that had never been touched or trapped by the researchers also started attacking anyone wearing that caveman mask. These birds had somehow communicated to their entire community that this particular face meant danger. They were literally gossiping about the researchers. Scientists have now confirmed that crows can remember human faces for up to 17 years. 17 years! That's longer than most humans remember the faces of people they went to high school with. And they don't just remember faces passively. They hold grudges. They warn their friends and family. They pass this information down to their babies, who weren't even born when the original incident happened. Think about that for a moment. Every time you've shooed away a crow, cut down a tree where they nested, or even just given one a nasty look, that bird might have filed your face away in their memory banks. And they might have told every other crow in your neighborhood about you, what scientists found inside a crow's brain. So how do crows actually remember us? What's happening inside those tiny bird brains that gives them such incredible memory? Researchers at the University of Washington decided to find out by actually looking inside crows' brains while they recognized human faces. Using specialized brain imaging technology, scientists discovered something absolutely remarkable. When a crow sees a human face they recognize as dangerous, their brain lights up in almost the exact same way a human brain does when we see something that scares us. The regions that activate in a crow's brain are strikingly similar to the fear and memory centers in our own brains. The amygdala, the area responsible for processing emotions and fear, becomes highly active. The hippocampus, which handles memory formation, kicks into overdrive, and the visual processing centers work together to analyze every detail of that face. It's not just simple pattern recognition. These birds are experiencing genuine emotional responses tied to specific memories of individual people. What's truly shocking is how sophisticated their facial recognition system is. Crows don't just recognize general features like hair color or clothing. They can pick out individual facial characteristics even when those faces are in crowds of people. They can tell the difference between you and your identical twin if one of you has been mean to them and the other hasn't. And here's something that sent chills down researchers' spines. When crows see a threatening person, they don't just remember that individual. They freeze, stare directly at the person, and reduce their blink rate, almost like they're taking a mental photograph to ensure perfect recall. Their brains are actively encoding that face into long-term memory with remarkable precision. The neural circuitry involved spans from the brainstem all the way to the forebrain, creating a distributed network that processes, stores, and retrieves facial information. This isn't a simple reflex. This is genuine cognitive processing that rivals what we see in primates, including ourselves. The Crow Communication Network, better than any social media. Now here's where things get really wild. Crows aren't keeping this information to themselves. They have what scientists are calling a highly sophisticated communication network, and they use it to spread information faster than rumors on social media. When a crow has a negative experience with a human, it makes specific vocalizations that other crows understand as warnings. But it's not just alarm calls. The complexity of their communication system goes far deeper. Crows use different calls, different intensities, different durations, and different patterns to convey detailed information about threats. Researchers have documented crows teaching their young about dangerous people. Baby crows who witness their parents scolding a person in a specific mask will continue scolding that mask even when their parents aren't around. This is social learning in action. The knowledge spreads through observation, teaching, and cultural transmission. What's absolutely fascinating is how far this information travels. Studies have shown that crow populations several kilometers away from the original incident will recognize and respond to a dangerous face. Some of these crows have never even been to the area where the original event happened. They learned about it entirely through their social network. Scientists call this horizontal and vertical transmission of information. Horizontal transmission means the info spreads among peers and neighbors. Vertical transmission means parents teach their offspring. Both types of transmission have been documented in crow populations, creating what researchers describe as a form of culture. Yes, culture. These birds have cultural knowledge that gets passed down through generations. The scary part: once you're labeled as dangerous in the crow community, that reputation can stick for years, even decades. Researchers found that crows continued to scold the same mask 7 years after the initial capture event, and the percentage of crows joining the scolding had actually doubled. The grudge persisted and spread wider over time. Enter artificial intelligence, the game changer. For decades, scientists knew crows were intelligent. They knew these birds communicated, but understanding what they were actually saying to each other, that seemed impossible. There was no Rosetta Stone for crow language, No way to translate their caws and clicks into human understanding. Until now, artificial intelligence is changing everything. Organizations like the Earth Species Project are pioneering groundbreaking research using machine learning to decode animal communication. Their approach is revolutionary. Instead of humans trying to guess what animal sounds mean, they're letting AI find patterns that human ears and brains simply can't detect. The technology works by collecting massive amounts of crow vocalizations, sometimes hundreds of thousands of calls.
Big cloud of crow vocalizations and the initial classification of call that has been done by the artificial intelligence.
And feeding them into advanced machine learning algorithms. These AI systems can analyze frequency, duration, pitch, rhythm, intensity, and dozens of other acoustic features that create the building blocks of crow language. What makes this approach so powerful is that AI can process information at a scale and speed that humans never could. A team of researchers might spend years analyzing a few thousand crow calls. An AI system can analyze that same data in hours and identify patterns that would take humans decades to find. The Earth Species Project has already analyzed over 150,000 vocalizations from carrion crows in northern Spain. These crows live in cooperative family groups, unlike most crows that live alone or in pairs. Researchers believe their complex social structure requires equally complex communication, and AI is helping them map out exactly what that communication looks like. What the AI is revealing, the shocking truth. So what is AI actually discovering in these crow conversations? Prepare to have your mind blown. Researchers at the University of León in Spain attach tiny biologgers with microphones to crows' tail feathers. These devices recorded the birds' conversations for days at a time, capturing intimate details of their daily communication. When they fed this data into AI systems, patterns began to emerge that shocked everyone. The AI created what scientists call vocalization maps. These are visual representations where similar calls appear as dots of the same color. When you look at these maps, you can actually see structure in the crow language. Different colors represent different types of calls. Clusters indicate related meanings. The patterns reveal that crow communication has organization, rules, and complexity that we never suspected. AI analysis has revealed that crows use context-specific information in their calls. The same basic vocalization can have different meanings depending on the situation, who's listening, and what's happening in the environment. It's similar to how humans use tone and context to change the meaning of words. The word sure can express agreement, sarcasm, doubt, or enthusiasm depending on how you say it. Crows appear to do something similar. Machine learning tools have also identified what researchers call dialects in crow populations. Just like humans have regional accents, different crow communities have distinct vocalizations. A crow from Spain doesn't sound exactly like a crow from Seattle, and AI can detect these subtle differences that human researchers might miss. But here's the really shocking discovery. AI analysis suggests that crows may have something resembling names for each other. Studies on related species like African elephants and marmoset monkeys have already confirmed that these animals use specific vocalizations to address specific individuals. Now, machine learning models are finding evidence that crows might do the same thing. They may actually be calling each other by name. The food talk, what crows say at the dinner table. One of the most intriguing areas of crow communication research involves food calls. When crows find food, they often vocalize. But why? Calling attention to food seems counterproductive. Wouldn't a crow want to keep a good meal to themselves? Researchers spent 3 years studying what crows vocalize around food sources. They recorded thousands of instances of crows encountering food and analyzed the acoustic properties of their calls. What they found challenges our assumptions about animal communication. The calls crows make around food aren't simple. They contain information about the caller's identity. They vary based on the social context. A crow alone at a food source makes different calls than a crow surrounded by family members or rivals. The type of food matters too. High-quality food sources elicit different vocalizations than low-quality ones. AI systems are giving researchers a clearer view of how crows communicate around food by highlighting patterns in vocalizations that consistently appear in specific circumstances. When the models compare thousands of recordings, they begin to separate calls that serve different purposes, such as announcing the discovery of food to draw in group members, signaling others to keep their distance, or requesting assistance when the food source requires cooperation. These distinctions were difficult to confirm through human observation alone, but the computational analysis is making the structure of these calls more recognizable. As researchers continue to study these interactions, they are finding that food-related calls often carry multiple layers of information. Earlier work with American crows showed that certain acoustic details can reveal the caller's sex and individual identity. Building on that, scientists now think that crows may embed information about food quality, urgency, and social expectations within the same signals. Many of these details remain outside the range of what humans can reliably interpret, but AI is helping reveal how much contextual content these birds manage to convey through sound. This complexity might explain why mapping crow communication has been so difficult. Unlike simpler animal communication systems, where call A always means thing B, crow vocalizations appear to work more like human language, where the same word can have multiple meanings depending on context, tone, and situation. The cooperative crows and their secret language. In northern Spain, something unique is happening in the crow world. While most crows around the globe live alone or in pairs, the carrion crows in this region have developed cooperative breeding behavior. Multiple adult crows work together to raise chicks, taking turns defending nests, cleaning, and feeding the young. This cooperative behavior requires coordination, and coordination requires communication. Dr. Daniela Canestrari and Dr. Vittorio Baglioni from the University of Lyon suspected that these cooperative crows must have more sophisticated communication than their solitary cousins. They partnered with the Earth Species Project to find out if they were right. The results were stunning. When AI analyzed the vocalizations of these cooperative crow families, it revealed communication patterns that were more complex and varied than those seen in non-cooperative crow populations. The birds appeared to be coordinating their activities through specific call types and sequences. Researchers began asking what these vocalizations might actually represent and whether the crows were exchanging information relevant to their daily responsibilities. They considered possibilities such as coordinating which adult would feed the chicks, signaling shifts in nest guarding duties, or giving detailed warnings about predators that included information about distance or direction. When the audio data was processed through AI models, the patterns suggested that these forms of communication were likely taking place. One of the strongest outcomes of the analysis was the discovery of how many different vocal types the birds use. The system identified dozens of distinct calls, each marked by specific sound features that set it apart from the others. Some of these calls appeared only during narrowly defined situations, such as when adult crows exchanged roles at the nest. Others were more general, but contained small changes in pitch, duration, or rhythm that AI could distinguish more reliably than human listeners. These findings point toward a communication system with more structure and nuance than previously documented, giving researchers a clearer picture of how crows organize and share information within their groups. This discovery has huge implications for how we understand animal intelligence and communication. If crows can coordinate complex social behaviors through sophisticated vocal communication, what else might they be capable of? What other conversations are happening above our heads that we've been completely oblivious to? Hawaiian crows racing against extinction. While some crow research focuses on thriving populations, other work has urgent conservation implications. The Hawaiian crow, known locally as the alala, went extinct in the wild in the early 2000s. The last surviving individuals live in conservation breeding centers, and scientists are working desperately to reintroduce them to their native habitat. But here's the problem. These captive birds have been isolated from wild populations for so long that their vocalizations may have changed. They might have lost parts of their natural vocal repertoire. Without the full range of communication abilities, reintroduced birds might struggle to survive in the wild. This is where AI becomes absolutely critical. Professor Christian Rutz and his colleagues at the University of St. Andrews partnered with the Earth Species Project to study the Hawaiian crow's vocal repertoire. They're using machine learning to compare the vocalizations of the last captive individuals with historical recordings of wild Hawaiian crows from before they went extinct in the wild. The AI analysis can detect even subtle differences between modern captive birds and their wild ancestors. Are certain call types missing? Have the frequencies shifted? Do the birds use different sequences or patterns? These details matter enormously for the success of reintroduction efforts. The research has another fascinating application. Hawaiian crows are one of the few bird species that naturally use tools for foraging. They craft and use sticks to extract insects from tree bark and dig in leaf litter. Understanding their communication might reveal how they pass down this tool-making knowledge from generation to generation. This work demonstrates how AI-powered animal communication research isn't just academic curiosity. It has real-world conservation applications that could mean the difference between a species surviving or disappearing forever. What crows are actually saying about us now? We get to the question that's probably been on your mind this whole time. What are crows actually saying about us humans? The answer is both fascinating and slightly unsettling. Based on decades of research and recent AI analysis, we now know that crows are definitely talking about individual people. They're sharing information about which humans are dangerous, which are friendly, and which can be ignored. This information spreads through their social networks with remarkable efficiency. When a crow encounters a person who has threatened or captured them, they make specific alarm calls that attract other crows. These aren't just generic danger signals. The intensity, duration, and pattern of the calls encode information about the level of threat. A person who frequently harasses crows elicits more intense alarm calling than someone who merely captured a crow once for research. Crows also make different vocalizations around humans they've learned to associate with food. People who regularly feed crows are recognized and often greeted with different calls than strangers. Some researchers have documented what appears to be begging behavior, where crows make specific sounds when they see their regular feeders, almost like they're asking for food. But here's something that will really make you think twice about how you interact with crows. Researchers have found that crows don't just react to people in the moment. They plan their responses. If a crow sees a dangerous person at a distance, it might silently fly away. But if that same person gets close before the crow notices them, the crow will scold and mob them aggressively. This suggests that crows are making calculated decisions about how to respond to different people in different situations. The most unsettling finding? Crows appear to teach their young about specific humans even before those young birds have any direct experience with those people. Baby crows inherit knowledge about dangerous humans from their parents and other adults in their social group. So, you might have a whole new generation of crows that dislike you, even though you never personally did anything to them. The technology behind the translation. Let's dive deeper into how this AI technology actually works. It's not magic, though it might seem that way. It's sophisticated computer science applied to one of nature's oldest mysteries. The process starts with data collection. Researchers use specialized recording equipment to capture crow vocalizations in various contexts. Some use traditional microphones on tripods. Others use cutting-edge biologgers that attach to the birds themselves. These tiny devices include microphones, accelerometers, and magnetometers that record not just what the crow says, but also what it's doing physically when it makes each sound. This contextual information is crucial. A crow might make the same basic caw sound while flying, perching, eating, or confronting a predator. The accelerometer data tells researchers what the bird was doing, helping them understand what the vocalization might mean. Once collected, this audio data gets fed into machine learning models called neural networks. These AI systems are trained on massive data sets of sounds, including human speech, music, and animal vocalizations from hundreds of species. The goal is to teach the AI to recognize patterns in acoustic communication that might be universal across species. The AI analyzes dozens of acoustic features: fundamental frequency, harmonic structure, amplitude modulation, temporal patterns, spectral content, and many more technical properties that human researchers would take months to analyze manually. The machine learning system can process all of this information simultaneously and identify correlations that humans might never notice. One particularly powerful tool is called Nature LM Audio, developed by the Earth Species Project. It's the world's first large audio language model specifically designed for bioacoustics. It can automatically detect, classify, and analyze animal vocalizations across different species and contexts. Early results show that knowledge learned from human speech actually transfers to animal communication, supporting the hypothesis that there might be shared structures in language across species. The technology is advancing rapidly. Researchers predict that within a few years, AI will be able to generate convincing animal vocalizations that the animals themselves can't distinguish from real calls made by other animals. This opens up incredible possibilities for research, but also raises ethical questions about how we should use such powerful technology. The Crow Intelligence Revolution AI research into crow communication is revealing something that goes far beyond just understanding what birds say to each other. It's fundamentally changing how we think about animal intelligence itself. Crows have repeatedly demonstrated cognitive abilities that scientists once thought were unique to humans and great apes. They can solve multi-step puzzles. They manufacture and use complex tools. They remember faces for years. They planned for the future. They show evidence of something that looks remarkably like consciousness. New Caledonian crows have repeatedly demonstrated cognitive abilities that continue to surprise researchers, especially in controlled problem-solving experiments. These birds are capable of completing multi-step tasks, sometimes involving as many as 8 separate actions to access a reward. Their behavior shows an understanding of how one action leads to another, and they can use one tool to obtain a second tool that is needed to solve the main task, which indicates a level of planning that relies on mental organization rather than trial and error. In studies where crows must perform a sequence of actions before receiving any payoff, they often pause, assess the setup, and then carry out the steps in a deliberate order, suggesting they form internal representations of the task. One well-known experiment involved presenting a crow with a tube of water containing a floating treat that was out of reach, along with a selection of small objects placed nearby. With no prior training, the birds began dropping objects into the tube, watching the water rise until the food came within reach, mirroring the scenario described in Aesop's fable. Their choices during the experiment were equally revealing because they did not pick objects at random. Instead, they preferred heavier items that displaced more water and avoided hollow or ineffective pieces, showing an understanding of how weight and solidity affect outcomes. These results indicate that New Caledonian crows possess reasoning skills that allow them to evaluate different options and select the most effective one, demonstrating a level of physical understanding that develops in humans only after several years of childhood learning. Brain imaging studies have shown that crows using tools activate different neural circuits than crows that don't use tools. The birds that excel at tool use show more activity in brain regions associated with spatial memory and motor planning. It's similar to how human brains show specialized activation patterns when we use tools. Perhaps most remarkably, research has shown that crows actually enjoy problem solving. When researchers gave crows tasks that required tool use versus tasks where food was freely available, the crows that worked for their food showed signs of being in a better mood afterward. They appeared to get genuine satisfaction from figuring things out. What this means for our future with crows. So where does all this research lead us? What should we do with this knowledge that crows are watching us, remembering us, talking about us, and potentially judging us? First, it means we need to completely rethink how we interact with crows and other intelligent animals. These aren't just simple creatures operating on instinct. They're sophisticated beings with memories, emotions, social networks, and communication systems we're only beginning to understand. Urban planners and wildlife managers are already starting to apply these findings. In cities where crows and humans frequently conflict, researchers are developing strategies based on crow cognition. If crows can learn to associate specific people with danger, can they also learn to associate specific behaviors or locations with negative consequences? Could we train urban crow populations to avoid sensitive areas without harming them? Some researchers believe we could use AI-generated crow vocalizations to communicate with crow populations. Imagine being able to warn crows away from airports where they pose collision risks to aircraft, or directing them toward areas where their pest control services would be beneficial. The technology might make such targeted communication possible within a few years. The conservation implications are enormous. Understanding how endangered crow species communicate could help us protect their remaining populations. It could inform captive breeding programs and reintroduction efforts. It could help us identify when crow populations are under stress and need intervention. But there's also a deeper philosophical question here. As AI helps us decode animal communication, we're discovering that the line between human and animal intelligence isn't as clear as we once thought. Crows have language, culture, tool use, problem-solving abilities, long-term memory, and social intelligence. They recognize us as individuals and respond to us accordingly. What does it mean to share our world with creatures this intelligent? What responsibilities do we have toward them? If crows can remember our faces for 17 years and pass that information to their offspring, shouldn't we be more thoughtful about how we treat them? The research also opens up exciting possibilities for the future. Scientists at the Earth Species Project talk about eventually passing the crow Turing test, creating AI-generated calls that crows themselves can't distinguish from real crow vocalizations. At that point, genuine two-way communication between humans and crows might become possible. Imagine a world where we can warn crows about upcoming construction in their nesting areas, where crows can tell us about environmental problems they observe that we might miss. We truly understand what these intelligent birds think about sharing their space with us. Crows observe human behavior closely, remember faces, share information within their groups, and even pass those details to their young. And with the help of artificial intelligence, researchers are beginning to understand the patterns in their communication. Studies show that a crow you encounter may recognize you, recall past interactions, and respond based on what it has learned from others. As AI tools advance, scientists are uncovering more about the depth of crow intelligence and the structure of their vocal signals, revealing a level of social awareness that has long gone unnoticed. This growing body of research suggests that crows have been engaging in complex communication far longer than humans realized, encouraging us to rethink how we understand and interact with wildlife as we recognize these birds as highly intelligent and socially aware beings. Have you ever had a memorable encounter with a crow? Have you noticed crows in your area recognizing you or responding to you differently over time? Drop your experiences in the comments below.